right, welcome to the show. It's me, Tim Young, hanging out today. We've got all our audio fix. All of our audio fixes are in. Everything is ready to go. And we're going to have a good conversation today about why women have suddenly supported murder. While I was getting ready for the show today, I have a screenshot here. Women lining up to cheer for Lindsay Clancy. If you guys don't know the facts of that story, she has admitted to confess to the murder of her 3 children. She strangled them all to death. And some women are trying to excuse it away as part of postpartum depression. This is kind of getting ridiculous, but feminists in particular are now lining up and cheering on Lindsay Clancy. Here's one of them talking about it earlier.
One of my sister-in-laws, it could be one of my best friends, and it could be me. So just here to support.
We are hearing her. We see that she tried everything, and I really do believe
she tried everything, including strangling her children one at a time.
That she went into a state of psychosis.
It felt like the system failed her. She was begging for help, but no one was there. I don't know if us being here will make her feel any better, but she's living in hell right now.
It could.
One of my sister-in-laws, it could be one of my best friends, and it could be me.
It could be me. So this woman has clearly considered murdering her children. How did we get here? How did we get to a point where there are thousands of women in this country, number one, that support ICE and don't want rapists and murderers deported, but that support then Luigi Mangione for murdering a healthcare CEO, and now support this woman? Oh, it could be me. It could have been me who decided to strangle all of my children. How do we get there? I think a big part of it is media manipulation, also the psychology of women now. We're going to start with the media manipulation side and my good friend, David Bozell, who, let me tell you something.
Mr. Young.
We got it all figured out today.
Listen, nobody cares about our tech problems. Nobody.
I do. And I don't care.
We do.
Then they're going to be forced to care about it because I care about it. No, but look, this is nuts. Here's a woman who admitted to murdering her 3 children. It's not anywhere close to less than brutal. It's disgusting what's going on. And people are saying, oh, it could be me, or, oh, it was just postpartum depression. I've known a few women who have had postpartum depression. None of them have been like, I need to kill my kids. What do you think's happening here?
Even her defense team is not disputing the fact that she admits she killed her children, and we got to pray for the repose of these young souls first and foremost. But look, I asked the team back at Media Research Center. I said, "What's the coverage been like of this trial on the broadcast networks?" Zero. Nothing. Yeah, nothing. Now on Twitter and some of these other platforms, you'll get some reporters chattering, but in terms of just a report for the latest trial of the century, it's been zero. And I thought, why? Because she's guilty. Because a lot of the evidence that's not floating around in these true crime detective TikToks that are going viral, a lot of the evidence has been impounded by the judge. Yeah. So including the audio tape of the husband discovering the bodies of his children murdered. And so that's been a point of contention on a lot of these TikToks. It's like, oh, well, I heard that his voice was calm. Well, after he screamed bloody murder, pardon the terrible pun, but after he discovers the bodies, and this is the way this reporter that I just saw online kind of described it. Said, look, we can't play it for you, but I'll just describe what I heard. It's the most anguished sound that I could ever imagine hearing from this husband. And then he finally gets the words out, she killed the kids. And then is he composed to take directions from a dispatcher? Yes, this reporter goes on to say. But would you clarify, would you qualify that as calm? No, not by any stretch. So look, we live in this true detective podcast era where everyone thinks they're an expert about all pieces of evidence, seen and unseen. Yeah. Look at Candace. Candace is kind of doing the same thing that a lot of these women are doing with this trial, just sort of making things up as they go along, as they hear things, in their feeds or in their water coolers, whatever. It's the same shtick. They're just, the women that you're playing earlier, they're just not professional broadcasters like Candace Owens is.
They're also cat ladies.
Yeah. So when the press doesn't cover something as sort of, and I hate this phraseology too, if something as juicy as just murder of 3 children, I think the press understands that this woman, crazy or not, is guilty as all get out, and there's nothing that's really going to save her, and they just don't really want to go down this path and having yet more egg on their face for trying to get ahead, try to defend someone who's trying to defend the indefensible.
So I was trained as a public defender. A few of my friends are. I have a couple of friends who are crime scene investigators. I have a couple of homicide friends. I have a couple of prosecutor friends.
Yeah.
And the one thing that is consistent is that it's very inconsistent how people react in shock to when they see someone close to them.
Sure.
I think that for me, and like, again, I can't imagine what it's like to see your children. But what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to be, banging your head on the wall? Are you supposed to be throwing things? No, I think it's a processing, and it's a hard processing.
Yeah.
And they fall apart later, but you're in physical shock at that point, and he probably doesn't remember a thing he did after that, other than calling 911, because it's like all the bells and whistles go off. You kind of get into one of the consistent things when people are in shock and things like this and they're processing something is like you're kind of like a dizzy kind of blur.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's hard to remember everything you physically did. I've been hearing all this crazy stuff about certain things were organized or whatever was put on top of whatever. Yeah. What I've seen myself in very stressful situations, and I clean around me, and I will organize cards and I will put things together. I went through a kind of a rough relationship not too long ago, and I would clean when I was super stressed out and didn't know what to do. And I would just kind of organize things around me. And I think that's a default setting for a lot of people, is to just put things in order what you can, because you have no control of what's happening around you. So for people to, again, and it's a lot of stupid people. The women who lined up along the road are stupid. They're stupid. And they're kind of sociopathic in that, and they want to believe, I wouldn't say, no, let's go narcissistic, not sociopathic, because they want to make it about them. And so they're out trying to get as much attention on themselves, hollering on the street, oh, it could be me. I could have done that. No, you're a childless cat lady. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, even if the evidence were presented right there in front of them, they're just going to stick to their narrative. I hate to bring this back to Candace, but you sort of saw this online with Candace Owens last week. All the evidence that proved her wrong, and she just whistles right past it. These women would be the same thing. But to your point about people's reactions, everyone's familiar with fight or flight, but there's also fawn.
Yeah.
And people just freeze. And maybe he remembers nothing. Maybe he remembers all of that. Who knows? All that's irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
And it's obviously it's kind of irrelevant sort of to the defense team. I mean, the defense team is just trying to, blame the drugs or just, to my knowledge, they're not making this case that, he abused her or whatever. I mean, there's been none of that, not that I've been able to read. But I just think it's telling. Again, it's just the cables are all over this story, but the broadcast networks, haven't really touched it at all. And so when you see that, you think, okay, I mean,
and then once it starts getting clicks, so that's the other thing too, is when you get into it's getting clicks on YouTube and views on YouTube. We just went over the Bricks and Minifix case was the last big thing that hit on YouTube, and people are so intrigued by that because you can draw a villain and a good guy and go down the line, regardless how stupid some of the facts were in the case. It's tough because, again, I went to law school and I've seen this stuff, and I can kind of read in between the lines, and I see how stupid people are in the middle of everything. And a lot of times everybody's wrong. But in this instance, it's black and white. She admitted what she did, and then people were trying to extrapolate from everything. And a lot of it, I was talking with somebody at my cigar lounge the other day, and they were like, look at the husband. That guy looks like a whatever. And I'm like, but he didn't do it. Doesn't matter what he looks like. He could have, a curly Q evil mustache and a top hat and like one of the monocle, an old timey villain.
Right.
He didn't do it.
Right.
And I can only imagine that if she was that mentally stressed or whatever she had going on for her, that his life was not the best either. And he probably feared for his life as well. So this is there's just a lot here that, like, again, we're looking at a generation of people who want to conclude things about, and in particular women here, who want to conclude things about men. And I think part of the problem are shows like The View, where, how many times did they have to read a legal note because they accused Matt Gaetz or Pete Hegseth or all these other people of sexual assault? And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, they're reading somebody in legal at ABC who had a heart attack watching the show had to call down and say, you got to read this because you can't just start flailing around and accusing people of things. The viewers of that show see that, and they believe everyone's automatically guilty, and they believe that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, as a story, it's got a lot, right? I mean, it's got the children. You're putting this sort of medication culture on trial. And you see this, at the agency level with HHS and RFK Jr. and the things that he's doing to try to sort of demedicate and sort of reduce the level of immunizations in kids. I mean, just so much. There's just so much getting pumped into our bloodstream.
Yeah.
And so, and that's been part of the defense. It's like, okay, she's on what was it, like 14 different, I mean, what a cocktail this woman was on. And it's Massachusetts, and they're white. So that kind of plays into this as well. And gets it attention. You don't see, I mean, I'm not trying to make this a racial thing at all, but all these clips that you're seeing, all these women, standing by her or cheering her as her band comes. There's not a lot of diversity in that crowd at all, right? It's just older white women. I saw a white woman in that crowd waving a Palestinian flag. No joke.
Well, that makes sense. There's one. There's one. There we got one.
I mean, what are we doing?
There's no 1% diversity.
We're just combining. We're combining every protest point we could think of. It's pro aborts, it's feminism, it's anti-male, and sure, throw Palestine into the stew while we're protesting. So it's crazy.
These are Canadian flags. There's a Canadian flag.
Yeah, right. I mean,
we're at the World Cup.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at your clip.
There's France and Ukraine.
There you go. There's Ukraine.
What flag is that? I should know that flag. What is that? That's a South American flag, isn't it?
That's not Germany, is it?
No.
I mean, I don't know what we're doing with that. So again, I mean, it's just
they had leftover. Listen, David, they had leftover World Cup flags, and they had to get out there and use them again. They were like, "Hey, look, we bought these from Michael's Crafts, and we got to get these back out there because they didn't buy them popularity."
That's right. I mean, go make a sign that's appropriate.
What's going through this guy's head? What's going through this guy's head?
Yeah, I think he's there. I think he's there for the show. Like
this lady dragged him.
That guy in the red shirt's like, I came out here to play frisbee golf, and there's this protest nearby. So
I heard this was a great place to meet women. It's been a tough time dating. I mean, it's
crazy.
Like, yeah, again, and they always, it's the same women who are protesting ICE. It's the same women who are, pro-Palestine, all this stuff. It's these elderly white women. And
yeah,
does something just,
I would love to know, like, what are these? They're not the demo for TikTok.
No.
Now maybe they're sitting around, just thumbing through it, but they're not the demographic. I'd love to know their information intake. I really, really could, because a lot of people think like, well, they just must like hate watch, they just watch CNN all day long or MS Now. And I mean, yeah, seniors are that make up the majority of those audiences, but those audiences are so small in the aggregate, like the numbers just don't back up that theory at all.
No.
So I would love to put a microphone and ask them, like, what are you reading all day long? What are you watching all day long? But you know what? On some level too, Tim, we've seen trials of the century before. It makes me speculate. Maybe this culture always existed. It was just existed offline, and they watch daytime TV.
Yes.
And it caters to, it's kind of the View demographic. And, maybe they've always just existed, but now it's just like, there's cameras and lights and action. And, they can see and be seen and coordinate, and so it's a little bit more intense. But it does make me wonder, like, wow, where did all this come from? And I suspect maybe it's always just been with us all along. It's just a little quieter.
There was, when I took internet law back in law school 20 years ago now, my professor said the only thing the internet really does is it brings together all the creeps that, they collect like severed baby doll heads. And then they're like, oh, we can start a severed baby doll head club. And all the freaks can find each other on the internet. This guy was a super liberal too. He goes, all the freaks can find each other on the internet and make it feel like they're not alone.
What was that? What was that website that was super popular for a hot second, where it was almost like a classified ads?
Craigslist?
What was it?
Craigslist.
Yeah, Craigslist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it just kind of got outed as being like a hub for crazies.
Yeah. For like people who like assault people and all the weird yeah.
Well, any and all fetish you can think of, and so yeah, I don't want it to just be like just criminal. It was just anything and everything, and that was sort of pre-Twitter, pre-Facebook chat, like pre-reply, like those types of things, and yeah, I mean that's where they're hanging out in plain sight now. Hiding in plain sight, but they used to just be sort of relegated to their couch watching daytime TV, and they were growing up, like they were the crazy cat ladies.
Yes. And now they know that they can get the attention that they want too, so they show up together, and then there's media crews there.
And you can't criticize it.
Yeah.
And if they wear pink, well, I mean, look out. Now you really can't criticize.
I mean, this is Channel 5 Boston, it says. I guess that's a local news there that came out. I mean, they're very excited to see this group of women stand with it. By the way, I would never line up for...
And the media, let me just say this too. The media has a responsibility here, because the media is that local coverage, and I get it. The local guys are like, wow, this is going to be like the national story, so we have to, we got to be in front of it. And they're not going to get this kind of story, every other day here. But, I mean... Come on, guys. Like, you don't have to film these ladies. Like, that's not the story, right?
True.
The story is the kids. The story is this broken family. The story is, over-medicating. There's a lot of different angles. But the protest stuff, and we see it out. We see it, some of our cousins in our space, in the movement space, are going around. I think I saw Frontline's at TPUSA with a camera. Videotaping, and it kind of makes me cringe. Like, we don't need to do that. Like, why give these girls any attention?
Yeah.
Let's just not play a part in that. So let's exercise some discipline and put the cameras down and pretend like they don't exist, because they don't matter. At the end of it. I mean, I don't want to get in my... Maybe
well, no, I mean, like, hold on. Here's a comment from Angela. There we go. It's not the hormones, it's the phones. Starving for attention, and it's never enough.
Sure. Yeah.
Here's the other. It's part of the me generation, a bunch of narcissists who see themselves in a cold-blooded killer. They should all be locked up and have the kids taken away. I mean, seriously though, that should, like, and Lisa Ann makes a really good point. Like, imagine if some of these women are mothers, and they're going out there saying, "Oh, that could be me." What? If you've got kids at home, and you're out there at this thing, saying, hey, Lindsay Clancy, I could be just as bad as her. What do you, should you have your kids?
I mean, I guess I could hear the Snopes fact checkers in my ear. Well, she was insinuating that it could have been me suffering from postpartum. Okay, fine. But even still, I mean, look, I think we've all known women in our life who have, potentially suffered from postpartum, to one degree or another, in one relationship or another. And it can be crippling. And yes, husbands have a role to play there. No one's denying any of this. Yeah. Right. And no one denies his responsibility. But boy, oh boy, 3, all in the span of like 12 minutes with
like
the brutality.
Yeah, I mean, it's just abortions on demand has led to the demise of the sanctity of life. I mean, that's another factor here. I mean, the fact that
it is another. Absolutely, Tim. Absolutely, amen to that. I mean,
Joseph Wilkins, good comment.
when you're not, Joseph, I mean, yes, when you're not respectful of the life in the womb, why would you be respectful of the life out of the womb? And then you just add the medication cocktail on top of it, and you're just not living. You're living a movie, some kind of script. So
well, it's interesting when all of these liberal states and liberal cities are passing these laws where it's abortion up until birth. And then at the same time, you see a video. I saw this video go viral the other day. I think it's through the New York Post, where a father came in and was like talking to his unborn daughter, and you could see the baby smile on the sonogram.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like how do you dissociate? And just claim that that's not a life. But Joseph, that's the best comment, by the way, and I should bring it back up. Sorry, I took it down already, but like. That is the abortions on demands led to the demise of the sanctity of life across the board. Across the board.
Yep.
You have to remember you had what was it, Ralph Northam? What was his
yeah,
name? I always
Northam.
screw up his name because he had there was a congressman with a very similar name, where he said, just calmly we could terminate the pregnancy at post birth.
Right.
He wanted to push that.
Essentially, that's what happened with the littlest one.
Yeah.
I mean, what was so? I mean, so here we are, and here's Massachusetts having sort of made that legal. I mean, what was the age of the baby?
I don't know.
8 weeks or 8 months? I can't remember.
I think it was. I can look that up.
I mean, but I mean, close enough. I mean, that's so
8 months.
That's close enough.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Joe's absolutely right about that. When you, and on top of that, paid for by someone else, right? It's abortion on demand at any age, at any point in the pregnancy, paid for by the U.S. taxpayer. So there's just no culpability at all. There's no, the state will take care of aborting your baby. That's why I support all this personhood, the personhood movement. Trying to classify the baby in the womb as a child, as a human being, and getting that legal designation in there. And the left is apoplectic about that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of money being raised on the left to try to fight those state constitutional amendments that are happening. I think there's like 14 different states that are in the process of adopting personhood for these reasons. And this is where, like, if I had to be a futurist, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is where sort of left, there's, because of gerrymandering, there's ruby red states and there's royal blue states, and there's very few, purple districts, very few purple states left. Well, abortion is going to be the issue that sort of severs it completely, where it's going to be your state is going to be defined by your abortion policy and whether or not you are asked to pay for it. Forced to pay for it. So that's where I think we're going.
Here's another good comment. Kind of hard to see. You don't have to. You can zoom in a little bit. But selfish women love killing their children. They make and wear T-shirts about it. They are the baby, and if their child lives, they can't be the baby anymore.
Whoa, that is deep.
That's. I mean, look, and let's take the depth away. It's from Hammy McSlammy.
Well, that's great.
Thank you, Hammy. The great philosopher, actually, and very, again, deep and smart. But again, your name is Hammy McSlammy.
I just saw that SNL bit again. We'll have hamburgers made of ham, sir? No, beef.
Yeah. No, it's Hammy McSlammy. Anyway, you're welcome to hang out. I know you got things to do. But I'm looking forward to. I think we finally got it together this morning. It's why I was in a bad mood when I joined.
Yeah, have fun, man. Have a good show.
But I
appreciate everybody tuning in.
Yeah, obviously, and I'll see you next week, and then at the midterm thing. I think we're gonna figure that out finally. It took
we'll have some fun.
A few angry phone calls. We figured it out. So
what's gonna suck about the midterm thing? It's all gonna be about data centers. I mean, that's what the midterms are gonna be about.
I am for data centers.
Okay, you don't live. Do you live near them? I am here. I would be for. I understand the necessity of them, and I don't buy all the hysterics. let me just tell people, if you live near, as I do, because I work near the Dulles corridor, and they're everywhere. And Virginia is richer than
Loud.
God
Yeah.
because of them.
Yes.
I'll just say this. If you're entertaining them in your district, do everything possible to get them parked near an airport, because they kind of blend in aesthetically with the airport aesthetic, and you kind of don't know where a data center starts and ends. So I would really just like encourage people to do it. If that's the way, like they absolutely have to put it somewhere. Put it like, I hate them because I work in the Dulles corridor, but I think Dulles did it right by taking these on, because you really just don't know where the airport begins and ends, and no one really wants to live near an airport anymore. Anyway.
I don't know if you knew this or not, but the Dulles corridor is not the prettiest place anyway, so I don't care what building.
It's not.
But it does pay in Loudoun County. Here, I got a fact for you. In Loudoun County, it pays 38% of all the city's budget right now.
What? Oh, well, okay. Okay. Well, I also saw that, I don't live in Loudoun, but I also saw that somebody was like, well, Loudoun County's personal property taxes are going down 30%.
They are.
Look, there's got to be some proof in some of that pudding. I don't know where any of that number is coming from.
That's actually a thing. It's a thing. But anyway, we'll talk about it later. We should have this long discussion, because I am very pro data center, even though some organizations I work with are not. So we'll talk more about it later. We'll get back. We need to get back to crazy women. Thank you, David.
All right. See ya.
See ya. All right. Coming in now is my friend Jillian Anderson, who is she's a mom of many. How many children do you have now? 15?
3.
3.
You haven't met the newest one. And I look like a crazy mom because I'm doing crazy mom things today. But you know what I'm not doing, Tim? I'm not throwing ice into a shower or taking videos of myself just punching the wall because I have kids.
You're not out. You're not out in pink protesting for Lindsay Clancy either.
I'm not raising money for people who just strangle their children.
It's a thing. Hey, have you? Can I just ask you questions, because you're a friend of mine, but also we're live on a thing. Can I just ask you? Do you ever have postpartum depression?
No. I think that postpartum depression is real, and I was actually talking about this with my friend Jack earlier today. I said, and I'm not going to name names, but other prominent women who I'm friends with, we will never said it publicly. I'll say it here, I guess, that we don't actually believe that's necessary. Just like regular depression, as Christians, we believe like we can give our things to God. We can give our pain, we can give our stress, we can give our worry, our anxiety, and be obedient. And he takes on those things for us. So I've never experienced postpartum depression. Do I have postpartum hormones? Yes. I can cry at stupid commercials. I do. You know what I mean? We cry over little things, but it's not like I'm not stressed out. I'm not like sad about them. Like, oh my God, they're growing up, like sad like that. Beyond that, no, not really. But you know what? I cast my worries and my fears where they belong. I do not hold them in. And I definitely don't make videos about it.
You don't set up a camera to cry in the camera. I love it when people do that. It's such a narcissistic thing. But no, I've learned a lot about pregnant women from you, because you've basically been pregnant for 5 years now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You'd think if someone were to have these problems, it'd be someone who had 3 kids in under 3 years.
Well, yeah, but hey, whatever. But I've learned a lot from you on this. Do you think a lot of it, and then we've got Carolyn Gorman, who is an expert on the psychology of a lot of this stuff, coming in a second from the Manhattan Institute, to join you. But do you think a lot of this is just attention-seeking behavior? You were on a reality show, and that was before the internet really took off.
Yeah. I don't. They want excuses to be a victim.
Yes.
I mean, this is all really encompassing this victimhood mentality, is it not? I mean, like they have to find a new way to be a victim. And this is motherhood. The worst. And it's just so bizarre. Like I feel so strongly. I wrote this op-ed that came out Tuesday of this week. Maybe it came out Monday this week. And I talked about AOC and her freezing her eggs. AOC and I are the same age. And my whole op-ed is about motherhood and how we were pushed to wait on motherhood and how amazing it is to be a mom and how it changes you. And then this week took a whole turn where it's like, I'm a mom, but being a mom sucks and it's hard. I go, whoa, I didn't foresee that being like a trend this week. Following, I would have had maybe wrote a different op-ed had I known this was to come. I'm really grossed out in general by this case. I, on purpose, did not dive into it. I heard a little bit of it and it grossed me out. I said, I don't need to know anymore. I learned how she killed her kids. Did not want to know that. And it is a very intimate way to kill somebody. It's not a gun where you have
a little separation.
Yeah. This is like they defecate them. They defecate themselves.
That's what happens when you die.
You have to like strangle them into submission. And I said, listen, I don't want to know details of the case. I don't want to know too much. I don't want to get into it, whose fault it is. A lot of people failed, but she still needs to be held accountable. That is absolutely heartbreaking on every single level. It's disgusting on every level. To praise her, to raise her money, to raise her $1 million, then make these crazy videos about how hard it is to be a mom and say, I stand with Lindsay.
Yeah. Before I need to bring in
8 kids at school. I mean, where's the lunacy?
I need to bring in.
I support school shooters. I go, that's the same kind of mentality this is.
Yeah, I need to bring in Carolyn Gorman from. Hi, Carolyn. You're an expert on this, and I want to say, and I said this earlier when I had David Bozell on from MRC. If a woman says, "Hey, that could be me," and she's got little kids at home, should we be worried?
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to say I so agree with what you were just saying there. Like, I'm so disgusted by all this conversation. I think people should be. And frankly, I wish I could say that I'm happy to be here talking with you, but I'm not. I'm very conflicted about this because a huge part of the problem is that these platforms have created opportunity for people. And now we are treating some of the worst human suffering as a platform, and it should concern us more. And I've been thinking about this more from a policy perspective as opposed to a psychology perspective. We do not need to live in a world that looks like this. And so how do we change what that world looks like?
How do we change how that world? Just take it from there, Carolyn. Like, because that's my question. Because I think we have spun out of control, and there are so many things that have happened that have empowered the wrong people. A lot of it, by the way, when I messaged a mutual friend of yours now with me about this, because she asked how women could start doing this, and I have a lot of thoughts on it. One of the main thoughts that I have is we've had it so good for so long that these women are trying to create causes that don't exist.
I'm not going to disagree that, we have no idea what a big problem and a little problem is anymore, because we for so long have given currency to sort of a victim mentality. But actually, I have been thinking about it from a slightly different perspective that's maybe more concrete, and that is video footage in courtrooms. This is not a requirement, okay? We do not need to have video footage to have the courts be open and transparent. We have audio recordings, we have professional news reporting. We have several different mechanisms that we can use to make sure that courts are accountable, aside from live streaming murder trials. I should not be aware of what's going on for some random case in Massachusetts. And frankly, I wouldn't have been unless I had gotten so many requests to write or speak on this. But we are adding to the virality of this stuff by having one mechanism available for open courts that we might not necessarily need to, or at least we should consider the downsides of having this for.
Yeah, I find a lot of people, and again, I actually worked in the courts, and I was trained as a public defender and whatever in Baltimore, and I've seen some of the worst of the worst. There really isn't a reason to have video a lot of times here. And what happens now is that there are so many people online that want to create something from nothing. The woman has admitted to what happened. The husband didn't have anything to do with it. And now we're getting everyone who says, oh, he looks a certain way, or, oh, he didn't answer this way. It's like, no, facts are facts. Like, this is over. This should be done. There should not be a court of public opinion involved in this.
The fact of the matter is, like, juries and courts operate under specific rules and obligations. They're meant to try and look at all of the evidence. They're meant to try and assess the evidence objectively, not subjectively. And they're meant to not discuss the evidence until they have come to a decision. And so, you can talk way more about these rules than I can, but there are like very specific processes that try and make it so that we have a fair process. Mm-hmm. If we just decide to like throw those out and talk about this all day long online, those online conversations can have impacts in real life. And this case is one example. There was a TikTok therapist who posted about having worked at a hospital where Clancy had once been a patient. She literally got called into the court. She did not present to the jury, but she did present to the court. And she ended up having really no substantive evidence. Like, the judge did not allow her to provide testimony, but she still got media coverage for this. So this woman now has, used her platform to bring herself attention and opportunity. It was relevant in terms of like the court took her and listened to what she had to say, was distracted by it. And it really was not ended up being beneficial for the case at all. And so there are serious downsides, I think, that we should think about in terms of what TikTok adds to this.
This is very parallel to what you're seeing play out with Charlie Kirk's case. I mean, we have facts and evidence, and we have Candace Owens. We have Candace Owens, who's developed a whole new economy based on the death of Charlie Kirk. And, we have feelings, we have theories. Everyone wants to have their own theory of what happened or what could happen. And the same thing's happening here. Well, the husband, he was cheating. It was probably his fault. I mean, everyone loves a good whodunit. We watch too much on Netflix that we want to be a part of it. And I think that's like, everyone wants to try to figure it out. Like, just throw anything on the trial. What evidence out the window? We got theories for days. She didn't look right. He didn't look right. We're all Candace Owing this trial.
And before we go any further here, and I watched a bunch of Carolyn stuff today. You're really smart, by the way. I'm really impressed by this stuff. And I
it's too smart for us, Tim.
Dude, she's too smart. Yeah, she's too smart for me. But no, I dug into her stuff beforehand, and I'm like, man, you're saying this stuff. Like, more people need to hear your stuff. A big, not to bring in dating into this, but like, I've been dating. Obviously, Jillian knows my life way too much. I'm not going to dig too much into it. But when a woman openly starts talking about how she's in therapy regularly or sees a therapist, it's a red flag for me. Where like years ago, I think seeing a psychologist would be like, oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you're figuring stuff out. Now a therapist, I think the role has become just affirming your crazy ideas and your desire to do whatever you want in life. You just go somewhere and they make you feel good. And I saw you talking about therapy at one point. Carolyn, just take it.
Look, it's no secret. I think we have a serious problem with an over-therapized culture here. And part of that is culture, part of that is policy. For the last at least half century, it has just been our formal policy to aggressively promote mental health. But no one even knows what mental health means anymore. It's like any normal distress or sadness is perceived as bad mental health because we've expanded the definitions of what it means to be mentally ill so much. And so because we have this like vast net being cast across everyone, and everyone is encouraged to seek treatment and talk to someone and think about how you feel all the time, we have done that. And now we are all just sort of over therapized. Meanwhile, the people who really do have serious mental illnesses like schizophrenia, like psychosis, are being undertreated or they're getting poor quality care because we're not focusing attention on them. Our system is not accountable to the most sick. And unfortunately, that's another way this Clancy case is relevant. I mean, she was allegedly on something like 13 medications. I'm not a psychiatrist, but there are clinical guidelines for prescribing. 13 medications is far too many. And the fact that a lot of this was happening, it sounds like through telehealth, is another consideration. We have less oversight, sort of like it's easier to just access this stuff, even if she hadn't been honest with her providers. And then who is accountable? So accountability is something that I think about a lot. And the sort of mental health and wellness for everyone promoted and sing it from the rooftops is not good for accountability.
Yeah, no. And also I've seen the pyramid scheme of life coaching. I don't know if you've paid attention to the pyramid scheme of life coaching, where like a woman will go to a life coach one week and the next week be a life coach. And then she'll have 3 life coaches under her. It's amazing.
We've got a lot of different frameworks for thinking about the world. Some are better than others. I'll leave it at that.
A lot of them are better. A lot of them are worse than the just like, go to a doctor. But you're right. The telehealth thing is very interesting because you don't get blood work. you don't know. You can very easily lie to people to get whatever drug you want. I mean, it's literally you click a couple of buttons. I mean, I did that I had a sinus infection a couple months ago, and I was prescribed an antibiotic in like 15 minutes. It's like, but like you can do that with heavier stuff. And a lot of people don't consider how easy it is to get prescription drugs now.
In healthcare, the things that we overdo the most are the things that are easiest and that we perceive to be the safest. We perceive something like therapy to be not that harmful. And so we just dole it out. But every intervention has risk of harm and risk of downsides. And so we're sort of just pushing people more and more towards this system. And for some reason, with mental health, people just aren't willing to admit that there are downsides. But as with any medical intervention, there are downsides to mental health interventions too.
You're a very serious person, Carolyn. So maybe Jillian will answer this one. When I take a look at the women lining up to protest for Lindsay Clancy and encourage her in the morning, I'm not seeing our brightest and best out there. They all kind of seem like they have problems.
Look, I think there are a lot of people who have good intentions that are really misguided by a lot of what's out there in our culture, in our conversation, and social media is spreading that. When you're thinking about putting a policy into place, you're thinking about the scope and the scale and the speed, how fast something is reaching people, how many people it's reaching, and to what degree it's reaching them. And you want to have more targeted approaches because the right thing is not the right thing for everyone. When we sort of like use platforms like social media to promote ideas, or when ideas can spread as fast as they can on social media, they get out there really fast and then they kind of take hold. And there's a lot of evidence of social contagion here too that matters. And it's well documented for a lot of different risky behaviors: suicide, aggression, criminal offending, drug use, sharing your own personal medical information. If you hear other people share their medical information, you're more likely to do so yourself. All of these things are really exacerbated by the current sort of online world. And it's something that I think we need to be more serious about addressing. I'll just say one last thing. Everyone feels like they recognize that the online world is a problem. We are all willing to admit that it has these downsides, but people are almost thinking it's too big of a problem to do anything. Everyone just seems to have their hands thrown up. It's such a big problem that, frankly, we need to be spending more time thinking about how we get off of this stuff. And one of the ways I think we should be thinking about is truly stigmatizing people for being online too much. That is, social stigma is a very powerful approach, and it's one we are not using enough.
That was something here. I'll ask Jillian this one. When did it flip from it was weird to meet someone online on like a match.com to it's weird to meet somebody in person?
Dude, you're asking so.
Yeah, I know. And she was on The Bachelor. So was it weird to meet someone on a TV game show where you fell on your butt?
About online and being on screens, and like people are like, oh, it hurts your mental development. I go, it's robbing you from childhood. It's robbing you from awkward situations. It's robbing you from meeting people, from like developing a personality and like trying new things. It's robbing from a lot of experiences. But as far as dating goes, so, I never did online dating. I just was good enough to do TV dating. So
I was like, I can't listen. Every time she says this,
well, I don't know.
I never did online dating. Like you were on The Bachelor, so
I didn't think it was weird. I guess in a city, I the ages when I was dating, I guess in a city, it didn't seem weird to me to meet people. There's so many people, we're busy in a city. I guess it didn't seem that weird, but I never online dated like that, so I don't really.
And also,
can I just say I am in favor of online dating. I'm in favor of anything that is going to connect people to do more real life in-person interactions. And frankly, that just is the world we live in terms of how people are meeting. I think we need to have more ways to do that. But if people want to make use of those mechanisms, they should. We should just be concerned about sort of the other things that go along with it, sort of the incentive to stay home as opposed to go out and be active, the incentive to actually, there's this big trend recently, apparently, like loneliness influencing, and young women are just like staying at home, posting their Friday nights, and they're like cleaning their apartments. And I'm sorry, when I lived in New York City, I was not staying home on Friday night to clean my apartment because
I was not staying home ever. But we also didn't have Ubers, let alone Uber Eats, DoorDash, things like that. We had to go out. We had to go out to get food. We had to go out to get groceries. You had to leave our house to do things. I think especially since COVID, everything has just become way too easy and way at our fingertips that I don't have to leave my house to get groceries. I don't have to see people. I don't have to do very much outside of my house if I don't want to. And that would have really radically changed my 20s, would have had a lot less good stories out of it. Maybe safer though. I don't know.
Me too.
But I remember walking around Adams Morgan at like 22 in my blue platform heels. That's what we're looking for, a big slice. We didn't have, they were going to drop off food at our house when we got there.
I actually think it's changing the way young people might be thinking about risk also in a way that's harmful. If you are in high school and you would have in the past gone to a party and not worried about it and like made friends and made deep relationships because you got up to a little bit of trouble, if you think that your behavior is going to be recorded now, you're just that much less incentivized to go do those things. And so it's really putting downward pressure on the types of behaviors that we might want to actually encourage a little bit, which is socialization.
So we didn't document our memories. We don't have it because we were living in the moment.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference.
Going to the comments here real quick. My friend Corey, stigmatizing people for being online too much. This is the wrong crowd for that. Correct. Fine. Correct.
Fair.
Sometimes, hey, tough love. Sometimes you need a hard truth.
This is where I make my money, so I gotta be here. Look, I'm not going anywhere, and I don't go out. I never went out before, so I never got into any trouble. It's also, I probably should just stay out of everywhere, right, Jillian? That's kind of my
no.
What?
No.
Even if we
certain
on the margins,
that's it.
Sorry, go ahead, Jillian.
Oh, I was just teasing him about girls.
Look, we're all going to be online. Like, it is very hard not to be. I have to be intentionally offline, frankly. I recently went smartphone free for a week just to see how it would affect me. It is hard to live this way because even like checking your bank, you have to do like double authentication. But being aware about how we can just turn the dial down 10%, it really is something we should be thinking about. And we can do that through social pressure.
Yeah, I just, so it's a weird, we live in a weird culture, and this would be such a good longer form. We've got like 5 minutes or actually like 7 minutes left, but like it's interesting that like, it's like people, you say that people don't behave a certain way because there's cameras in public, but it's like when you take a look at the women at the gym who film themselves in the tightest possible nook and cranny pulled up shorts, and they get offended when somebody in public looks at them, even though they're filming this for online publication. And it's like there's some sort of just lack of logic in that. Like, I'm upset that a guy looked at me, but I'm putting this online for thousands of guys, hopefully, to look at me.
Because the one guy looked at them.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, like I always feel like, and I think what is it, like Johnny Soul, the guy that like gets angry about this stuff.
Love him.
He's like, if the guy was attractive, you'd be fine with it.
That's my point. It's so gross to me. I miss, I was like in that fitness culture for so long.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that like at the time that I was in it, we were wearing clothes and shirts, and we weren't out there in bras and underwear that like scrunched up your butt cheeks, because it's disgusting. It's disgusting. It seems like a health code.
Jillian, can I ask, were there positives to that though? Like, did you find community? Were you actually more healthy?
I still lift. I just don't partake in sharing it online. I just happened to grow up in a household where everyone was like bodybuilders or power lifters. And so when my own joints started deteriorating, I went to a trainer, and then I loved it. I missed having a sport at the time. And so I threw myself into competing, and I competed for years, and I was really good at it. And I liked it, but there was definitely a gym community. But again, it was just kind of like starting that influencer community. And that was kind of at the same time I was going into The Bachelor. And then once I got done with The Bachelor, I had my 15 minutes, and a lot of my 15 minutes was revolving around the way that I looked and my body type and stuff. And I I learned really quickly that I didn't want to be known for that at all. The things that they were asking to do, the things that they wanted to see, um, I'm sorry, the things that they
I
wanted
thought
to.
about muting your phone. You're only a media
Yeah,
person.
because someone's at my gate. Sorry.
Oh.
It wasn't worth it for me to go along with the identity that The Bachelor came with me. So I ended that really quick. At one point, I just stopped all my interviews. I just stopped being the public figure that they were asking me to be because I didn't want to feed into that. It took a lot of, at the time, the show was still a culty show. It was very much the #1 reality show in the world before Hulu, Netflix, all these things. We had all these different reality shows. It was still American Idol, Survivor, The Bachelor. So this is like the era of that. And so with that came this 15 minutes of fame, and they wanted you to feed into it. And to keep up with those 15 minutes, you keep having to give parts of yourself. And there were parts of myself and my identity that I didn't want to give anymore. And I spoke to God a lot about it. And I said, I don't want to give to anyone else. And if I'm not happy with the way I'm presenting myself, if he's not happy with the way I'm presenting myself, then I got to cut it off here. No one needed to see my body but me. I could have the best body in the world, be super confident, but no one needed to see it but me. I started just removing all that stuff offline. And I think people actually forgot that I was like a fitness influencer at all for any period of time because I just don't talk about it.
There's a picture that I remember of you that still scares me.
You were scary. Watermelon with my thighs.
Yeah, no, she could unscrew your head with her bare hands. And by the way, it's all about how you carry yourself and because you can seek the attention in public with how you carry yourself. And I will say, like, Jillian, like, I've always viewed her as a sister. I just never found it. I know she's attractive, but I've never found her attractive. That's okay.
Especially right now.
Yeah. Well, no, you're fine. You're a babe. But I remember specifically one day we were in a Whole Foods together on lunch break when we used to work together.
He loves this story.
This dude comes up and he goes, "Hey, I'm not hitting on you, but I just need to know what you're doing for your quads because they look." And I've never in my life, and he was dead serious. Like the guy was dead serious, and it's all about how she carries herself. Because again, you guys know what you're doing. You know how to shake it or whatever you do to get guys' attention or whatever. And it's just about self-respect. And I think having grounding in faith that Jillian has saved her from a mess, and has an incredible.
Tim has said. I'm not going to say what she said. I had a lot of reason I had a lot of reason to be worse than I ever was, and God rescued me from a life I shouldn't have.
It sounds like you were really benefited by like the struggle and the having to go through this because it helped you figure out what the line was for you. And I think more people maybe should just ask themselves that. I'm not saying we should always be offline or that everyone should be forced to be offline or that everyone should be online, but we should all be thinking about the trade-offs that exist here. And the reality is it's not just The Bachelor that flattens people. The online world just does flatten people into sort of one thing, one representation. You have kind of one identity, and that's as much as people can handle, especially in these 10-second clips. And so we should be thoughtful about what that flattening does to how we perceive ourselves, how we perceive others, how it distorts reality, how it dehumanizes things, how it removes us from really the human aspects and nuances of like living.
Yeah, I think I learned a lot of hard lessons, but very quickly, and I'm glad I learned them after that experience, because that was when like being an influencer and like online stuff started taking off at that same time. So I didn't come off the show and have instantly 1 million followers. We weren't there yet, but we were on that way. So years after me, that kind of stuff hit, but it did, you got to hear a lot of voices. You got to see what a lot of people thought, and you had people that loved you in a very creepy way, and you had people who hated you, who were coming after the way that you looked, your body type, your weight, your makeup, the things that you wore, the things that you said, the things that you believed, and your internal person and what was portrayed online. And they always thought it was real. Whatever the headline was, that was who you were to them. And I learned to not judge people the same, but also I had a hard lesson in what was I willing to accept as far as external thoughts. Like what was I, and I realized there was one person whose opinion I cared about, and there was no one else in this world that was going to change it. And then I had to learn, okay, my confidence came through Jesus Christ alone, and that's it. And once I firmly 10 toes down believed in that, my whole world changed. I could upload anything I wanted to, and I could get 5 likes. I don't care. 50,000 likes. I don't care. It wasn't going to change my day. I didn't care how what people thought about my Instagram caption. Because I used to be like, oh my God, friends, can you all look at this? This is a cool, funny caption. Like, I don't care. And I was with my friends. Oh, Jillian, you like this photo before I posted? I said, I don't care. You know how much horrible stuff about me is on the internet? I could care less. My husband loves me. My kid loves me. My God's proud of me. What Joe Schmoke thinks about me, don't care. If she thinks I'm pretty, great. If she loves my outfit, great. If he thinks I'm good looking, don't care. I don't lose sleep over any of it. I don't.
Look,
It's a great lesson I needed to learn. And I now, like, as a parent, I can see things through that lens, and I want to have them so grounded in confidence through Christ that nothing else can move them.
I am personally partial to Jesus's teachings as a framework as opposed to therapy as a framework.
Yeah.
Amen.
They've stuck around a little bit longer.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, I want to close with this. Jillian didn't need to internet date because her husband is disgustingly beautiful, and I was there when they met, and they were like across the office, and it was just gross. It was a bunch of ugly slobs in the middle, and then you had like a beacon and a beacon, and there was no choice there. And so like there was, that story doesn't happen ever to anyone. Because it's whatever.
We did an online meet. We did a TV meet.
Shut up, because it was beautiful people.
But you met at work.
Yeah. But
My
we were
husband
still
and I did
in person working, right?
Yep.
Well,
We don't do that anymore. That's the other thing. There's so many people that just work remote that you don't have a lot of organic
Jillian,
ways to meet people.
I've met women in all these scenarios, and we've seen how that's worked out.
I know you have.
It's done real well.
Maybe you should run some of these women you date by her.
Probably. No, I can't trouble her with that. It's not worth anyone's time.
It would save you a lot of time.
Yeah, just say no. That's where I am. Just say
Friends
no.
and family. Actually, I think we should allow friends and family to have a little bit of input into who we date.
Oh, I do. No. So when I and we should do a whole show on this, by the way, with the two of you, because I think it'd be a very fun conversation. There's a friend of mine in town who I went to law school with, who is like another sister of mine, who will depose women and has ended at least 3 relationships of mine. Logically, not like out of spite. She's like, no way, dude. Come on, man. Like, what?
Sounds like a good friend.
And she's a great friend. Love her. And she's also a great attorney. And so she's also really cut through some contracts I've had and lets people know what's up. Sent them some notices to, retain documents. All right, Carolyn Gorman and Jillian Anderson, thank you for being here today. I really enjoyed this conversation. I want to have more. I knew booking you, Carolyn, and I texted you before this. I was like, I'm going to enjoy this conversation, and I want to do it more.
Thanks so much.
It's sometime soon. Let's get together.
I'm going to go back to
Great job, Will.
and be